The wind howled through the pines, carrying a chill that sank into my bones. I'd fled the city's chaos, screaming sirens, shattered glass, and the weight of a life crumbling under debt and despair. My new home was a weathered cabin in Oregon's coastal mountains, a place where the forest swallowed sound and secrets alike. But on my first night, as the fire crackled and the shadows danced, I found a rusted key beneath the floorboards, etched with a single word: hollow. I'd left Portland in a hurry, my life packed into a beat-up Jeep. The city had chewed me up, my job gone, my savings drained, my friends distant. I was 34, single and adrift, with nothing but a vague hope that solitude could fix me. The cabin was a steal, perched on a ridge overlooking a misty valley. No neighbors for miles, just endless trees and the distant crash of the Pacific. It felt like a fresh start, a chance to breathe. The first few days were quiet. I chopped wood, planted a small garden, and powered the cabin with a solar setup. At night, I'd sit on the porch, sipping coffee, watching the stars pierce the black sky. The forest was alive, owls hooting, branches creaking, but it felt peaceful, like the world was finally letting me nest. Then I found the key. It was late afternoon, and I was prying up a loose floorboard in the bedroom to check for rot. Beneath it, wrapped in a scrap of cloth, was a small iron key, heavy and cold. The word hollow was scratched into its surface, the letters jagged, as if carved in a rush. I turned it over, puzzled. There was no lockbox, no door, no obvious purpose. Just that word, staring up at me like a challenge. I searched the cabin, but found nothing to match it. The word stuck with me, though, whispering in my thoughts as I drifted off that night. Hollow. It felt like a warning. The next morning, I hiked into the forest, hoping to clear my head. The trail wound through towering firs, their needles carpeting the ground. About a mile in, I stumbled across a clearing. At its center stood a gnarled, ancient tree, its trunk split open like a gaping wound. The split was wide enough to step inside, and as I approached, I saw something glinting in the shadows. A lock, rusted but intact, embedded in the wood. My heart thudded. I pulled the key from my pocket and slid it into the lock. It turned with a groan, and the split in the tree widened, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. The air that wafted up smelled of damp earth and something sweeter, like rotting fruit. I hesitated, my flashlight beam trembling as it lit the stone steps. Every instinct screamed to walk away, but curiosity burned hotter. I stepped inside. The stairs spiraled down, the walls slick with moss. After what felt like forever, I reached a chamber, its ceiling low and roots dangling like veins. In the center was a stone pedestal, and on it, a leather-bound journal, its cover cracked and faded. I opened it, my hands shaking. The pages were filled with tight, frantic handwriting, dated 10 years earlier. March 3rd, 2013. I found the hollow today. It called to me, a whisper in the wind. I thought I was imagining it, but the tree opened, and I went inside. There's something down here, something alive. It knows my name. I flipped through the entries, each one more unhinged than the last. The writer, a man named Elias, described hearing voices in the forest, seeing shapes in the fog, tall, thin figures with 2 long limbs and hollow eyes. He wrote of offerings left in the hollow, of blood and bone to appease whatever lived there. The final entry, dated June 12, 2013, was a single line: "It's not enough. It wants me. I slammed the journal shut, my breath shallow. The air in the chamber felt heavier, like it was pressing against my skin. I grabbed the journal and climbed back up, locking the tree behind me. The forest seemed quieter now. The birds silent, the wind still. I hurried back to the cabin, locking the door and shoving the journal under my bed. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the cabin sounded like footsteps, every gust of wind like a whisper. I kept the lights on, clutching the key like a talisman. Around midnight, I heard it, a low, rhythmic tapping like fingers drumming on glass. I checked the windows, but nothing was there. The tapping stopped, replaced by a faint hum, almost musical, coming from the forest. The next day, I drove to the nearest town, a sleepy place called Tillamook, to ask about the cabin's previous owner. The librarian, an older woman with sharp eyes, frowned when I mentioned the address. That was Elias Carter's place, she said. Strange man, lived alone, kept to himself. Then one day, he just vanished, left everything behind, clothes, car, even his dog. Folks say he wandered into the woods and never came back. I didn't tell her about the journal or the hollow. I couldn't shake the feeling that saying it out loud would make it real. Back at the cabin, I tried to distract myself with chores, but the journal called to me. I read more, learning about Elias's growing obsession with the hollow. He believed it was a gateway, a place where the forest spirit demanded tribute. He wrote of seeing the figures clearer each night, their bodies twisted, their faces empty sockets. They didn't harm him, he said, but they watched, waiting. I started noticing things after that. Footprints in the mud outside my cabin, too long and narrow to be human. Shadows that moved against the trees when no one was there. One night, I woke to find my front door ajar, the lock untouched. I stopped hiking, stopped gardening. The forest no longer felt like a refuge. It felt like a predator. A week later, I met Leela, the only other person living within 10 miles. She was a wiry woman in her 50s, her cabin a mile down the ridge. I ran into her while checking my mailbox, her pickup truck idling as she sorted through letters. "You're the new guy," she said, her voice rough but kind. "How's the cabin treating you?" I hesitated, then told her about the key and the hollow, leaving out the journal. Her face darkened. "You went inside?" she asked, her tone sharp. "Don't go back. That place, it's not right. People around here avoid that tree. They say it takes things. Animals, people. Elias used to talk about it, said it spoke to him. Then he was gone." I asked if she'd ever seen anything strange. She looked away, her jaw tight. "Just stay away from it," she said, climbing back into her truck. "And lock your doors at night." Her words haunted me, but I couldn't let it go. The journal was all I could think about. Elias had written about a ritual, something to appease the hollow. He'd left offerings, small animals at first, then his own blood. I wasn't about to start cutting myself, but I wondered if there was a way to end whatever was happening. Maybe the key was the answer. Maybe locking the hollow permanently would stop it. I hiked back to the tree, the key heavy in my pocket. The forest was unnaturally quiet, the air thick with mist. When I reached the clearing, the tree was different. It split wider, the lock gleaming as if polished. I inserted the key, but before I could turn it, the ground trembled. A low hum rose, vibrating in my chest. The split widened further, and something moved inside. It was tall, its limbs unnaturally long, its skin pale, and stretched thin over jagged bones. Its face was a void, 2 black hollows where eyes should be. It didn't move toward me. just stood there, its head tilted as if studying me. I stumbled back, dropping the key. The figure vanished, and the tree snapped shut, the lock gone. I ran back to the cabin, my heart pounding. The journal was still under the bed, but now it was open, a new page filled with fresh ink. You opened it. Now it sees you. I hadn't written it. I burned the journal in the fireplace, watching the pages curl and blacken. But the words stayed with me, branded in my mind. That night, the tapping returned, louder, more insistent. It came from the walls, the ceiling, the floor. I grabbed my hunting rifle and sat in the living room, the lights blazing. Around 2 a.m., the power flickered and died, plunging the cabin into darkness. The tapping stopped, replaced by a voice, low, guttural, like gravel scraping bone. "Give," it said, from somewhere inside the cabin. I fired blindly into the dark, the gunshot deafening. Silence followed, then a laugh, high and sharp, like breaking glass. The lights flickered back on, revealing nothing but my empty cabin, the walls peppered with bullet holes. I didn't sleep. And next morning, I packed a bag and drove to Leela's cabin, desperate for answers. Her truck was gone, her windows dark. I knocked, but no one answered. On her porch, I found a note pinned under a rock, written in shaky handwriting. "It's not the Hollow, it's her. She's always been here. Run." I froze, the words sinking in. Her? Elias had never mentioned a woman, only the figures. I drove to town, my hands trembling on the wheel. At the library, I dug through old records, searching for anything about the land, the cabin, the hollow. I found a newspaper article from 1978 about a woman named Margaret Hale, a recluse who'd lived on the ridge. She'd been suspected of poisoning hikers, luring them into the woods. Her body was never found, only her cabin, filled with strange carvings and jars of blood. The article called her the Witch of the Hollow. I drove back, my mind racing. Was Leela Margaret? Had she been watching me, guiding me to the hollow? I reached her cabin at dusk, her truck still gone. I broke in, my rifle ready. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of decay. The walls were covered in drawings, twisted figures with hollow eyes surrounding a tree. In the bedroom, I found a trapdoor leading to a cellar. The stairs creaked as I descended, my flashlight cutting through the dark. The cellar was small, its walls lined with shelves. Jars filled with dark liquid glinted in the light, labeled with names and dates. One read, Elias Carter, 2013. Another, fresher, read, Leela, 2025. My stomach churned. At the far end was a mirror, its surface rippling like water. In its reflection, I saw her, Margaret, her face pale, her eyes black voids. She smiled, her teeth sharp and uneven. "You opened it," she said, her voice echoing in my skull. "You belong to the hollow now." I fired at the mirror, shattering it. The air screamed, a sound that tore through my ears. I ran, stumbling up the stairs, out of the cabin, and into the forest. The trees seemed to lean closer, their branches clawing at me. I reached my cabin, grabbed my keys, and sped down the ridge, not stopping until I hit the highway. I'm in a motel now, miles away, but I can't shake the feeling that she's still watching. The key is gone, lost in the hollow, but I dream of it every night. The tree. The figures, her face. I read online that another hiker went missing near the ridge last week. The article mentioned strange footprints, too long and narrow to be human. I don't know if I escaped or if I'm still hers, but I know one thing. The hollow is hungry, and it's not done with me yet.